Tonight, are psychics real?
There is substantial evidence for the existence of psychic ability.
Did the U.S. military use psychics during the Cold War?
They said, we essentially want you to become a psychic spy.
Only to ignore them when it was over.
You were actually correct with your remote viewing of where Osama bin Laden was.
Correct.
Wow. Can psychic powers be measured?
Okay, Joe, you can start. Big spikes. You're doing something unusual in there.
And are we about to come face to face with mind-reading machines?
Is that possible for the future? It seems like it is, right?
I hope not.
There's a lot of unexplained weirdness going on out there,
That's creepy.
What the hell, dude?
and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Have you ever had the feeling that someone was staring at you only to turn around and find out that someone was staring at you? It's pretty freaky, right? That is as close as I have ever come to any real psychic ability myself. I'm not gonna be the guy that says there's no such thing as psychic powers, because just because I don't possess it doesn't mean it's not out there. You go to any town in this country and you'll see storefronts and signs for tarot card readers and psychics and spiritualists. It doesn't take a genius to know that their only talent is scamming gullible people out of money.
Now here's your hotline.
But if it's all bunk, then why are countries like China, Russia, and the US spending millions of dollars trying to develop psychic warfare capabilities? I'm gonna slide down the paranormal rabbit hole and find out how much of this stuff is true. The first stop in my investigation is the Rhine Institute in North Carolina. They say that psychic ability is real and that they can prove it.
We're about to meet John Kruth. He is the executive director of the Rhine Research Center for Parapsychology. We're gonna find out whether or not I'm psychic. How are you, sir?
Hi.
Thanks for meeting with me. Really
Nice to
appreciate
meet you,
it.
Joe.
What can you tell me about parapsychology, and why do so many people believe it's hooey?
Well, you know, there's a lot of frauds in the field. There's a lot of people who do this work as entertainment. They aren't really interested in the scientific aspect of it.
So what is this room? You got a lot of, looks like ancient stuff.
The Rhine Research Center was founded back in 1935. It was actually part of Duke University at that time. This was the original ESP test. One person would sit on one side of the screen, and they'd pull the card and look at it, and they'd try to send psychic signals to the other person. The next thing they did is they invented this automatic dice rolling machine. What they would do is they'd have someone pick a number, and then they'd watch this and try to make that number come up.
So that's not just psychic ability, but the ability to actually control objects.
This is what we call PK, or psychokinesis.
So I can safely say that you are 100% convinced that there is something to parapsychology, to the ability,
ESP and Psi.
all that stuff.
I can tell you that as a scientist, there is substantial evidence for the existence of psychic abilities.
Are you going to demonstrate something psychic to me today? Am I going to be able to see something, you think?
You know, if you want, I'll actually let you sit in the labs and see what you can do yourself.
I would love to.
Every human emits a tiny amount of light, and according to John's research, people who claim to be psychic can harness their energy and emit more light from their body than normal.
This is the bioenergy lab. This is what we call a double dark room. This room is sealed from the outside light. We have a really sensitive piece of machinery here. It detects up to an individual photon of ultraviolet light every half second. We try to find if there's any physical energies that we can detect. Many people talk about feeling these energies, but we've never been able to detect it physically. Well, this is what we try to do in the lab.
Because the instruments are so sensitive to light, we couldn't bring our cameras in.
Try to do what you think you might be able to do to try to affect this.
I'm ready.
Great.
I'm going to sit in this completely dark room, and this machine is going to sense if I'm able to increase my psychic energy.
Okay, Joe, you can start.
Now we just saw a spike up to about 43. jumping up to 80s. Obviously, there's a building of energy. Now we're seeing a tremendous amount of build of energy, 25,000. I have to tell you, this is surprising to me. Now over 400,000.
Big spikes. You're doing something unusual in there.
Since we didn't have a camera in there and you couldn't see what I was doing, I'll show you exactly what I was doing. I started out going like this.
Are you getting uncomfortable, Joe?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop.
What were you doing in there?
Why? What happened?
We got huge numbers.
Really?
Yes. Almost like you had a light in there.
I was just sitting and concentrating and just really trying to focus my energy and being intense.
Well, you know what? You showed your numbers that were going over 400,000 photons a second.
What?
This is an amazing numbers.
If it makes any sense, I've had an isolation tank for over 10 years, and I've been doing martial arts my whole life.
So I go in this room, and there's a machine that measures light that comes off your body, but I don't see how in any way it shows psychic ability. If my body can produce more or less light, how does that make me psychic? I mean, if I have a lighter, can I see the future?
Really, I gotta tell you, this sort of pattern, where we see it jump up from the baseline and hold it at this high level for a period of time, I've seen this before when I'm working with Chi Masters.
Huh. I wonder what we're really seeing, you know?
Yes, well, that's why we need to do more research.
Ed Edwards is a, quote, psychic healer, unquote, and is here to demonstrate psychic energy.
I'll stand 300 or 400 people up and get them rocking back and forth all at once.
Could you get one person to rock back and forth?
I can get one, and I can get hundreds at a time.
How do you do that?
I set up a field of energy in here, like a DC negative, to pull you forwards, and I reverse the polarity in here, and it repels. I can try to demonstrate it. When I get it locked right, when it works right,
Okay.
I'll pull you off balance, and I'll shove you backwards.
Please do.
When it works right, okay? Hold your hands like this.
Okay.
Be very aware of what you feel in there. Very, very gently back and forth, just a little. Any type of sensation you're aware of? All right, now pull it down like here, like this. All right, I'm gonna do a DC negative, and I'm gonna switch the polarity. Feel that push?
No.
So this psychic healer is trying to change the polarity of the room and draw me closer to him.
A lot of people, I get them rocking, they can't even feel it. It's like I have a dimmer switch in my head and I'm slowly turning the amperage up. I'm reversing it. Now reversing back. Yep, it's not gonna work on him. When I played with this as a kid, I used to set up in the balconies of churches, and I'd create a DC negative field and make everybody kind of squirt around on the seats in there. When the preacher would take it into silent prayer, I'd reverse the polarity and push real hard, and I could get 10 or 12 people to fart real loud down there. Real loud.
We should make a video of that.
I know,
Put it
I should.
online. Ooh, boy.
I wish I lived near Ed, because if I did, I'd hang out with that guy all the time. I'd bring him places and see if he could make people fart. The dude is constant entertainment. I don't know if he's psychic, but he's a lot of fun to hang out with.
Check.
Tell me when we're ready.
Anytime.
This podcast is about psychics, and maybe the lack thereof.
I went to the Rhine Institute, okay, and they have this meter that measures photons, and apparently you can create some sort of light from your body that can be measured. I got to 400,000, which they were very shocked by, but I had a microphone. The bottom line is there's like a piece of electronics in the room with her. So I think that easily could have been nonsense.
Who knows?
How far do you think that psychic ability goes? Do you believe in remote viewing? That someone can sit in a room with a pad of paper and draw something that's happening on the other side of the world?
I mean, I think that if any government on the planet figured out a way to use a team of elite psychics to locate their enemies, yeah, it would be amazing.
It would be incredible. I'm still trying to find out if psychic power is real. At one point in time, the U.S. military believed it was, and they created a secret program where they trained soldiers in the dark arts. I'm going to talk to Major Ed Dames. He was the head of that program, and he has an amazing story to tell.
Boy, sir.
Pleasure.
Pleasure's mine.
What do we have here?
In 2007, my team, using our tools, remote viewing tools, we went looking for Osama bin Laden. And we found him right inside the Afghan-Pakistan border.
Wow, you were actually correct with your remote viewing assessment of where Osama bin Laden was, but the government didn't really act on that right away, did they?
Well, they didn't act on it really at all.
Coming up.
You can think of it as a form of clairvoyance. We essentially want you to become a psychic spy.
Enough talking. You gotta show me how to remote view. And later.
Now, look at the serial number, 05,
Yes.
and then an 8.
That's insane! Are psychic powers real? What do we have here? I'm talking to Major Ed Dames, who took part in a covert government operation, the infamous Project Stargate. Its intent was to use psychic power to gain military advantage. You were actually correct with your remote viewing assessment of where Osama bin Laden was, but the government didn't really act on that right away, did they?
To have taken him out in 2007 would have effectively eliminated the raison d'etre for being at war in Afghanistan, and the military-industrial complex in this country would have been out of business.
So they didn't take him out so that they can continue the war?
Correct.
Wow, that's a strong statement. That's crazy. Okay, so he's saying that remote viewers found Osama bin Laden, but that the government didn't act on it. And the reason that he uses is that they wanted to keep the war going. But another possible reason that he didn't consider is maybe they didn't want to send troops and risk lives because a psychic told them to go somewhere. How does remote viewing work? How do you put yourself into that state of mind? What's the process in getting the information out of wherever you're getting it from?
We studied the cognitive behavior of naturally gifted psychics in order to come up with this structure. How, when they were on target, how were they processing this stuff cognitively? There's no thinking allowed during the session. It's like playing the piano. You keep on moving. You do not think, allow yourself to think about the note that you just played. The target exists as a pattern of information. You're putting together a jigsaw puzzle in a very structured way, and unconscious is doing all the work. You stay out of the way. During that time, your eyes are wide open, you have a pen in your hand, and you're writing things down on the paper in a very structured way. And the third part of the process is data analysis.
What a freaky thing. The idea that there's this information out there and then you're sort of just kind of grabbing it with the unconscious. When it comes to like hits and misses, what's the success ratio for remote viewing?
In the past, it was anywhere from 50-50 to 20-80, 80% on. But the techniques and methods have evolved to the point where now a trained team of professional remote viewers, their mutually corroborating data is 100%. I'm still in awe at how powerful a tool it can be.
What was achieved during the remote viewing program?
We penetrated the Soviet Defense Council. That's one thing, and there are many others, of course.
It's hard to verify the success rate of a secret government program, but they claim to have found a Soviet Typhoon-class submarine before it was launched, predicted the release of an American hostage in Iran, and located a crashed Soviet bomber in the jungles of Zaire. What is it about the remote viewing program that allowed them to step away from it, though? I mean, it seems like with the great benefits that you guys had achieved, it seems like militarily that would be something they would want to continue to pursue.
Oh, it was such a political hot potato. We were a top secret unit, and very few people knew about us. But each commander, when they found out that they inherited us, there were shades of, oh my God, we're dealing with the occult, the paranormal, something that couldn't be explained. Many commanders said, not on my watch, give them to somebody else.
This is fascinating stuff, and I'm sure you could see why people would be skeptical
No,
of it
of
because
course.
it's so
I would
fantastic.
be equally skeptical. I heard somebody like me talking about this. I had never heard about remote viewing. Believe me. Yeah, right. So I know. I understand. The only way to really understand that this is real is to learn it.
I want to learn the mysterious art of remote viewing, and I found the perfect guy to teach me. His name is Paul Smith, and he is a veteran of Project Stargate. You would never know it, though, if you met the guy. He looks like the kind of guy you'd just like to have a beer with at a barbecue. I've also asked professional skeptic DJ Grothy to come along for the ride. He's the president of the James Randi Foundation, a group that offers $1 million to anyone that can prove that they have psychic abilities. He believes that remote viewing is all hype. And now it's time to see who's right.
What's happening?
How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Paul, how
Good
are
to see you.
Nice
Good
to
to
meet
see you
you.
as well. I'm very excited about this. Very excited to, from your point of view, learn remote viewing, and from your point of view, prove that it's
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we'll have to get blindfolded, I guess, and hop into this van. Let's do it.
Somewhere on this ranch is a target. If remote viewing works, we'll be able to see it with our minds. Both DJ and I are trying to remote view the same target, me with training from Paul and DJ on his own. But in order to prevent any of us from accidentally seeing the target, we're going to wear these fashionable blindfolds.
But we're here, so take those stupid things off and let's head on inside. DJ, you need to be sequestered, sir. Thank you. How did you come to learn remote viewing?
I had been sent to Fort Meade, Maryland, to work in a Middle East analyst position. And they said, we want you to take some psychology tests. We think you might be good at what we do. And what we do is we collect intelligence against foreign threats using a parapsychology skill known as remote viewing. You can think of it as a form of clairvoyance. We essentially want you to become a psychic spy. And I said, where do I sign?
Coming up.
I mean, that looks exactly like that. If you look at the image right here and you look at that, it's virtually exactly what it is.
We essentially want you to become a psychic spy. And I said, where do I sign?
I'm with remote viewer Paul Smith, a veteran of Project Stargate. He's teaching me how to be a psychic spy, while professional skeptic DJ Grothy waits in an isolated room.
What is the most significant thing you personally have remote viewed?
So I started getting the impression of a large metallic structure in a closed body of water, which I soon realized was some kind of vessel, and I interpreted it as an American warship, probably a destroyer. Subsequently, I perceived an aircraft, and it dropped one or two small cylindrical objects. Monday morning, I opened up the Washington Post. U.S. frigate hit by Iraqi Exocet missiles. I essentially, in great detail, described an attack on an American warship that didn't happen until 50 hours after I had perceived it.
Oh, okay, that's even weirder. So
Yes.
remote viewing is not just being able to see things that are there, but the ability to see things that haven't even taken place yet?
To an extent. We talk about remote viewing being independent of space and time.
What uses have been shown for remote viewing since then?
Obvious uses, supporting police departments and things like that, and some of that has occurred. But it's been used for investment more than anything. Stock market, sports betting,
So you do that?
commodities trading. I have done it, yes. And I can't tell you how much we made because I tried to stay out of the money part of it. The problem is if you're the remote viewer, you don't want to get emotionally involved in the outcome because
I see.
that messes up the viewing, right?
Right, enough talking. You gotta show me how to remote view.
This is what we call an outbounder or a beacon experiment. And the idea is that if you have a person that you know who is at a location, it's a lot easier to home in on that location because you can find that person and then find the setting that they're in. Okay? So we will sit at a table.
As the Outbounder team heads to the target, Paul is going to try to coach me to tune my mind into their minds and actually see what they're seeing. Professional skeptic DJ Grothy in the other room is going to try to do the same thing.
First thing is you want to relax. You know, the goal is just to focus in on where they're at. And it isn't that you're trying to read their minds. You're trying to focus on where they are, place your consciousness there with them, and describe the setting in which they find themselves. Is it bright? Is it dim? Is it shadowy? Is it in between? Is it whatever? And write down relevant material to that.
I don't see anything.
So, okay, so remember your consciousness is there. Keep your eyes open, actually, in this case. Get your pen on the paper. What comes to mind when you think color about this target? Describe a color that you perceive. You can also try sounds. How does it sound to be there? Is anything coming into your imagination? You're visualizing anything at all?
If you believe the experiment at the Rhine Institute, I was able to raise my psychic energy. Maybe I can do it again.
That's just random.
Sure,
Completely random.
that's fine. Random is better than nothing, right? Try to focus on shapes. If you get some pronounced shapes, sketch those down. Okay, write down end at 4:20 p.m.
Now we're gonna go to the location and see if any of these images match any of the things that are there.
Excellent.
When the experiment is over, we're gonna get to see who is better at remote viewing. Me, with training from Paul, or DJ, who's just guessing.
What we do now is compare what we can find that might be similar and what is different, maybe.
Okay, because I am a skeptic of remote viewing, I didn't draw images. I didn't get my soul out of my body, go somewhere else, look around. I just, jotted down some ideas.
Okay.
Pastel blue. So I see your pastel blue thing there. I see man-made structure, but not a house. Overhang, but not four walls, only pillar and post. So that makes sense.
So the skeptic, the guy who doesn't believe in any of this, got pretty good results.
This was the first thing that came to my mind, a square and the color red. I look over there, I see a square sign, and it's a red image on it. This thing could be anything.
Could be the pump jack.
I mean, that looks exactly like that, really. If you look at the image right here and you look at that, it's virtually exactly what it is.
The temptation is to make what is on your paper fit the target, match the target, right? And sometimes it actually is a real match. And then other times it's just you're really wishing it was a hit.
Right.
Perhaps I think you ought to maybe be a little surprised that what you did put down at least does correlate with what's here. It's not strong enough of a hit to be a confirmation, but at least is suggestive that maybe you were getting something.
The one's the most shocking to me is the first one I wrote down, which is the square and red. I mean, it literally is exactly what I'm looking at right there. That's kind of weird.
Both of our guesses or viewings or whatever you'd call it have a number of hits.
Maybe you were a remote viewing, you didn't even know it, dude.
Don't tell the other skeptics. I'm actually psychic. It's deep cover, right?
I like it. I like how you rock it.
Coming up.
I'm gonna do something physically impossible. Watch what happens, watch. Look me twisting.
I'm still trying to find out if psychics are real and they're out there lurking amongst us. As for me, I've tested my own biophotons and tried my hand at remote viewing, and I suck. But I'm not completely convinced that there's no such thing as psychics, but I'm back at square one, still trying to find out what the hell's going on.
Duncan, I am very excited about this because we're gonna meet with a guy named Banachek, and he's a mentalist. And what he's gonna do is explain to us how all of the psychic hoaxing, all of this remote viewing stuff, he says it's all bunk, and he can explain it.
Cool.
So this is gonna be very exciting.
And sad.
I really appreciate you meeting us here because this is something that's always been a curiosity of mine. I've always wondered how all this stuff is done, so thank you very much.
Well, you still may not know when I'm done how it's done, but you'll know that it can be done not by psychic means.
Okay, that's all I need.
So let's try a couple of things with you guys, all right?
Okay.
And what I normally like to do is I like to have one of you on each side of me.
Okay.
Because that way I can isolate the thoughts. Do me a favor, I'm gonna go through the book. You're gonna say stop anytime.
Stop.
Look at the first word at the top of that page.
Okay.
Now look at me. I want you
Okay.
to mix all the letters up in your word. Just mix them all up. And I
Okay.
want you to think of any letter in your word.
Okay.
You've got one?
Yes.
I got two. You changed it. You went
Okay.
forward and came back, I think.
No, I didn't.
You think of an S there?
Nope.
You did for 1 second. There's an S in your word, isn't there?
No. Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's an L further down, isn't there?
It could be.
Yeah, there is, because it starts with a G, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the letter. Your word is gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Good.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, you say stop anytime.
Stop.
Look at the first word, top of that page.
Okay.
You
that's
happy
a
with
good
that, or you
one.
want to change that?
No, I'm happy.
Think how many letters are in your word. I want what you count. Tell me when you're done.
Okay, I'm done.
There's an N in your word, isn't there?
Yes.
Think of where the N is.
Okay.
Okay, it's interesting. You notice his head came over that way just a little bit? Okay, then it came back over here. Right.
Yeah, but he says it all day. He's
Nah,
got
but
bad
that
balance.
means that the N is probably towards the end of his word. N is the last letter?
Yes.
Lotion, is that your word?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Try one more
One of my
time.
favorite words.
I'm thinking of a 3-letter word. WTF?
You notice there's a little die right there. I want you to
Are you
step
gonna
behind that
explain how
table.
you're doing this? Or you're just gonna freak us out for the rest of the day?
I'm going to do a few things to freak you, then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Step behind the table, if you will, okay? We have a die right here, and what I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to take your hands and just put it over the die so that I can't see. And if you want to turn it around and check all the different numbers on it, make sure there are different numbers, go ahead. All right, now look at me for a second, okay? Look at me. We're going to use your conscious mind. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to look at the die and then put it on a specific number you want to put it on. Now, my question to you is this. Have you ever played, like, dice before? You've never have. So you know the basic terms. You know, like snake eyes and,
Yes,
you know, yeah,
yes.
okay, good. And I think that's probably what you probably would have gone with a 1. Yeah, you did go with a 1, all right?
That's incredible.
Let's deal with your conscious mind one more time, all right? And then we're going to deal with your subconscious. So go ahead, put it on a different number. And tell me when you're done.
Okay.
You done?
Yeah.
All right. Look at me. This is really interesting to me. You would have thought about doing the 1 again to try to trick me, but you wouldn't have done that because you would probably think that's more than likely what he would expect me to do, being a skeptic. So you would go 1 or 2 numbers off, and I'm saying you probably go, it's almost like you're trying to trick me. I had a 2 and then I had a 4. I'm gonna go with a 4.
It's a 4.
It is a 4?
And a check!
But no, here's what's freaky. I cheated. It was a 2, and then I was like, this knows I have a 2. So I moved it with my thumb all sneaky-like and changed it to a 4, and you recognized that I changed it to a 4.
Let's try one more thing. I now wanna-
come on,
no, I
son,
wanna-
you gotta explain that.
That's creepy.
That's very creepy.
It's a
200 years ago, you'd be burned at the stake.
I probably would have been, exactly. I would have. I tell you what we're gonna do. Have you ever bent metal by thinking about it before?
Oh, all day, son.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you two change places if you don't mind. And Joe, watch, I'm gonna do something physically impossible. You're a strong guy, okay? But this is gonna be physically impossible to do. Above my thumb and forefinger in that section right there. Watch what happens, watch. Completely twisting.
What the hell, dude?
Try to untwist that. I mean, take both your hands and try to untwist that. You won't be able to, no matter how hard you try.
This is insane. This is insane.
Stand
dude.
up,
Look
please.
at this. Duncan, look at this.
That's weird.
Look, I know this guy is messing with us and that it's all tricks, but he is doing these tricks inches away from my face, and I have no idea how he's doing it. Banachek, you, sir, are a bad.
You want to try one more thing with both of you that I didn't do?
Sure, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm going to be trying to go off a lot with your voice.
Okay.
And then we'll talk seriously about this and what this stuff
Okay,
is, because I don't want to
okay.
give away anything
Right,
just
right.
yet. So I've got a few things found in every Las Vegas bedroom. I've got a few Mardi Gras coins from my friends Penn and Teller. I've got a blindfold, all right? And I've got about 3 to 4 feet of duct tape. So I'm going to ask you to take these. I want you to
This
take that.
always ends well.
I want you to put it up on your eyes and see if you can see through there.
Okay.
Duct tape and blindfolds, that's a good combo.
I can't see.
You can't see through that. You can take it off now.
I feel like I'm gonna wake up in Vegas with you on top of me.
Take one of those coins, hold it up to the light. Any holes, trapdoors? Nothing like that, right?
No.
No, okay, I'm gonna take that. So this first one's gonna go on here like so. And this is gonna get jammed into my eye socket, just like, try not to get my hair. Like that. Now the next one goes on the side, because this is a Banachek. You have good peripheral vision, so this one will go on the side.
Banachek, plastered duct tape all over his face, and he put coins over his eyes. I looked at the duct tape and the coins, and there were no holes anywhere.
Would you remove any bill from your billfold or wherever it is you actually keep your money? I don't care what denomination it is. Now, a couple of questions for you, okay? There should be a man on the bill. Is the man facing you or is he facing away from you?
He's facing away.
Facing you now?
Yes.
Can you see the serial number?
Yes.
Right side up?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to look at the serial number, but look at the first number, not the first letter.
Yes.
Is it a 0?
Yes, it is.
8?
No.
No, did you move ahead? Is there an 8 further down?
Yes.
05?
Yes.
And then an 8?
Yes.
A 0?
Yes.
Is it a 5?
Yes.
How many digits are left?
3 and a number.
3, okay. You said 3 like the next one is a 3.
It is a 3.
And then a 1?
Yes.
And a 9?
Yes.
And you said a number, but did you mean a letter?
I did mean a letter.
So you actually looked at that letter, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Was it an A?
Yes! That's insane!
Very nice.
He says that he doesn't have any mystical or psychic abilities, but given the tricks that this guy's pulled off right in front of our faces, I don't know what to think anymore.
So, how are you doing this?
I'm still trying to find out if psychics are real. Duncan and I are with world-class mentalist Banachek. He says that he doesn't have any mystical or psychic abilities, that it's all just a trick. But I want to know how easy it is for him to convince people that psychic powers are real.
I used the word, wow, that blew my mind. I've used that a little too much in my life.
Sure.
But this really did blow my mind. You didn't fail once. Even when I tricked you and I cheated, you nailed me. The fork thing, that's incredibly freaky. The dollar bill thing really tripped me out, though, because I pulled that out of my pocket. I knew where that came from.
Sure.
So how are you doing this?
Well, I can't give you all my tricks. It's a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of verbal, nonverbal. It's psychology. It's real magic put in, but put into a very different way.
Real magic?
Real magic. to
What does that
accomplish the
mean?
things. Real magic in the aspect of the same techniques that an illusionist uses or a sleight of hand artist uses. I'm not calling myself a psychic. As a mentalist, it simply means that I'm an entertainer. I'm taking my 5 known sense to create the illusion of a sixth sense. I don't claim I have a sixth sense, but I'm creating that illusion of a sixth sense.
So how the hell are you doing this?
There are natural means for everything that I'm doing. I'm not doing anything supernatural. Let me give you an example. I'll teach you how this works, okay? I want you to go with the first thing that comes in your mind. Don't keep changing because I'm working with a group of people as opposed to you one-on-one. And let's go with this. I want you to listen to my voice because I'm going to use verbal and nonverbal communication. So look at me and listen to me, all right? And I want you all to think of go 2 different simple geometric shapes, okay? One inside the other. Okay. Like a square was something else, but don't use a square, everybody does. 2 different simple geometric shapes, okay? One inside the other. You got it? Good. How many of you are thinking of a triangle with a circle? Raise your hand. Okay, the majority. Keep your hands up, though. How many of you at least got the triangle? Raise your hands as well. And how many at least got the circle? Raise your hand, okay? Everybody that raise their hand, keep them up. So that's everybody in here. Now let me explain what just happened. The reason I got almost everybody, and probably everybody at home, is this. I used verbal and nonverbal communication. First of all, verbally, I said, I want you to think of 2 different simple geometric shapes, and that puts you in the simple shapes. The most common one selected is a square. But I said, don't choose a square. But then I had you look at me as well, and this is what I did. Watch my hands, okay? Watch my hands. I said, I want you to think of, I don't know, 2 different simple geometric shapes, one inside the other. Like a square was something else, but don't choose a square, everybody does. 2 different simple geometric shapes, one inside the other.
That's freaky.
Yeah, but that's my job.
Have you ever encountered anything that makes you believe that there's the possibility of psychic powers?
I've worked with the best psychics in the world. I've investigated the best psychics in the world, and I've not seen a single thing that gives me any evidence that there is. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't. You know, there could be some sort of psychic power out there. It could be that maybe psychic powers don't work under proper controls. Who knows? But I've still not seen an indication that that's even the case. When you take a look at a lot of the mediums out there, I know exactly what those mediums are doing, and I think many of them are scum. I think they're taking advantage of people in a very vulnerable moment. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you know, it's making people feel good. You know what? I can give crack to a junkie. It's going to make him feel good. It doesn't mean that it's actually good for him.
I agree with you 100%. However, what you're doing is not about grieving relatives. It's not about dead people. It's about really fun stuff.
What I do is strictly for entertainment.
Right.
I'm an entertainer.
I believe you. It's very entertaining. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Amazing and confusing at the same time.
Thank you very much.
Check, check.
Check, check, check.
That was the best display of psychic ability I have ever seen in my life.
Yes.
I do not know how he did it, but what's important is that he says it's I think what he was trying to do is show that you can BS people.
Yes.
Anyone looking to get more information on any of these subjects we're talking about, go to sci-fi.com. All right, so Duncan, we're gonna talk to Dr. Bob Knight. He's the head of Knight Labs at UC Berkeley. That is a cool name. It sounds like a guy in a Batman movie.
Knight Labs.
he says that people are not able to really read minds, but machines can. Can you hear us, sir?
I can. I certainly can.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it. So, Bob, this is a fascinating field of research that you're working in. Tell us about this technology that you guys have and how sensitive it is as far as being able to read what's going on in a human mind.
Well, the first thing to know is if I show you a picture of something, or I play to you a sound, or I ask you to move your hand, the areas are activated when you perceive, are also activated when you imagine. We take advantage of that by recording from brain areas where you're imagining doing things. So if I play to you, Joe, for instance, the word baseball or football, I can record from your brain and I can reconstruct the activity, capture those signals, turn them into a sound file, and I can play it back on a speaker so you can actually hear what your brain has been perceiving.
Wow. That's amazing. So we're gonna check out this video, and this video is the technology that he's working on in action. What you're seeing is a human head and these sensors put into place that allow this technology to operate.
Waldo. Structure. Doubt.
That's strange.
That gave me the heebie-jeebies, man. I hate brain videos.
We've made some progress, but the technology's in its babyhood.
Wow, that could be potentially really amazing. It seems like there's a massive potential that technology has a revealing thought, which seems to me to be the only real future of psychic energy.
The future's always uncertain. The present is pretty exciting.
Well, Bob, I want to thank you so much for all your work, because if it wasn't for guys like you, dummies like me would never have any idea what the heck is going on out there.
Thank you, Joe. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
There are people right now out there building machines that are going to be able to read our innermost thoughts. I'm going to talk to Dr. Pamela Douglas. She is a neuroscientist, and she works on the cutting edge of this technology. And she believes that as this technology continues to grow and become more and more powerful, things are going to get really weird. First of all, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. So, Pamela, is this a step along the way to eventually being able to read the contents of a person's mind? And how much progress has been done in that area?
People have been able to extract certain words from people's thoughts. Jack Gallant at Berkeley has these amazing results where he's been able to actually decode full moving images from people.
That's incredible. Now, I know that there was a woman who was convicted of a crime because they had proven that she had direct knowledge of the crime scene by these images that they got of her brain that was enough to discern that she was actually there when the crime took place. That's kind of crazy.
I would wonder if I were to tell you a lot of details about a crime, or about anything for that matter, if you wouldn't construct a mental representation of that event in your brain. It didn't actually happen to you, but you have this, what I would like to call a false memory somewhere in your brain. That's a mental representation of this event. And I don't know where this technology is in terms of being able to decipher a real from a false memory. So I think it's very premature to accept this as evidence.
When you get an uneducated person like myself, when I look at all this stuff, I go, oh, we're gonna be psychic soon. They're gonna figure out like a chip, they're gonna be able to stick it in your head, you're gonna have one, I'm gonna have one, and we're gonna be able to like send thoughts to each other and read each other's minds. Is that possible for the future? I'm with UCLA neuroscientist Dr. Pamela Douglas, and she is sounding the alarm about the new generation of mind-reading machines. When I look at all this stuff, I go, oh, we're gonna be psychic soon. They're gonna figure out like a chip, they're gonna be able to stick it in your head, you're gonna have one, I'm gonna have one, and we're gonna be able to like send thoughts to each other and read each other's minds. Is that possible for the future? It seems like it is, right?
I hope not.
Why though?
I really do, because I think one needs to start to think about what that world would look like. Is it scary? Is it good? White lies might not be available at that point.
White lies might not be available.
You couldn't tell someone that you're married to or dating, oh, you look,
Ooh.
lovely, and
Yeah.
So relationships would change. I mean, is this the type of world that people would want to live in? It could certainly stifle creativity.
Yes.
I mean, you imagine that people who are really interesting writers, for example, possibly have these crazy thoughts that, that then come together into a really amazing story. It's certainly something that bioethicists should consider, we should talk about, because one can imagine that the technology does move in that direction. But at the present moment, we're not there. However, could we imagine a future where you could detect concepts, semantic concepts? Could you read what somebody's visualizing or seeing? I think we could. The ethical and legal and human rights considerations are definitely something that should be taking place right now preemptively.
So it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility for the future.
Right.
Is there a possibility of this technology being used in a way that would almost encourage people to think dangerous thoughts?
So I can imagine a scenario where you've replaced the TSA with a hallway where people walk after they check in, before they reach their gate for the airplane, and during that time, their thoughts are being read. And you tell them, walk down this hallway, whatever you do, don't think of the word hijack. Everyone's going to be thinking of the word hijack. I think you'd get a lot of false positives. From a practical point of view, I don't think that that technology would work any better than what we already have.
But the idea of private thoughts is kind of ridiculous. I think the hive mind's coming. Whether it's a decade from now or 100 years from now, I think that's the trend. It's gonna be very strange.
Yes, I would say very strange.
Very strange. Don't get me wrong, I want to believe that psychics are real. Certainly the people at the Rhine Institute believe it's real. Certainly people like Ed Dames and Paul Smith, remote viewers who have actually had success in using their mind to see things that are nowhere near them. They believe it's real. But then you meet a guy like Banachek, who throws a big fat monkey wrench into the whole thing. I thought at one point in time the guy really did possess mystical psychic abilities.
That's insane.
But he doesn't. It's just a trick. I believe without a shadow of a doubt that in the future, we will be able to read minds, but not with tarot cards or throwing dice. They will have machines that can read every aspect of your mind. The question becomes, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And I don't know. And as for psychics and clairvoyance, if you're out there and you're psychic and you're like, damn it, Joe Rogan, I am a psychic, send me a message. Don't email it to me, just send it to me. Beam it into my skull. I'm waiting.
How are you doing that?
Been doing it since I was a baby.
You remember when you were a baby?
Yeah, I've been playing with this all my life.
I don't feel either. I feel stupid.
Yeah, it looks stupid.